God bless you, my brothers and sisters. We are continuing in our 40 Days of Decrease Lenten series. Today is day 18, and we are fasting from appearances. I want to encourage you to read through the scriptures for today. They're found in John chapter 17, verses 1 through 5. And then I want you to pray to make sure that you're taking the time to be faithful to these moments during this season of Lent. Now, appearances have power. They shape perceptions, they confer credibility, they influence how others perceive us. And from an early age, we learn that how things look often matters as much as, if not more than, how things truly are. Over time, this pressure, it doesn't remain external, it becomes internalized. We learn to manage impressions, to curate images, and to protect reputations. Even faith can quietly drift into performance when appearance becomes a substitute for authenticity. Today invites us to confront that drift. Lent slows us down long enough to ask whether our spiritual lives are being shaped by truth or how things appear to others. It presses us to consider whether we're more invested in seeming faithful than being faithful. Appearances refer to external presentations of faith, of virtue, or devotion, and they may or may not reflect an inner reality. Spiritually, it's an emphasis on appearances that prioritizes perception over transformation. It's the habit of preserving an image rather than pursuing integrity. To fast from appearances is not to despise outward expression or to dismiss visible devotion. It's to refuse the distortion that values how faith looks more than what faith produces. This fast invites us to surrender the compulsion to impress and to return to grounded faith, faith that is grounded in truth, in humility and obedience. In John 17, Jesus lifts his eyes toward heaven and he prays aloud. This prayer does not manage appearances, it reveals realities. Jesus speaks of glory, not as public recognition or outward prestige, but as a faithful completion of the work entrusted to him by the Father. Jesus says, I have glorified you on earth, having accomplished the work that you gave me to do. Glory here is connected to obedience, not to spectacle. It is rooted in alignment with God's will, not how others perceived his ministry. Jesus's life actually defies expectation consistently. He's not doing what people wanted him to do. He's doing what glorified God. He resisted the desire to appear powerful according to worldly standards, and instead he embraces faithfulness that often looked unimpressive, was regularly misunderstood, because he's not worried about appearances. Jesus' prayer then reveals a profound truth that authentic glory flows from integrity, not from appearance. His confidence rests in not in human approval, but in faithful relationship with the Father. Throughout Scripture, God consistently distinguishes between appearance and reality. Human systems tend to evaluate based on what's visible, what is immediate, what is impressive, but God looks deeper. He looks toward obedience, toward humility, toward trust. And the tension between these perspectives creates a temptation for God's people to perform rather than to comply with God's purpose. But when appearance governs faith, energy is spent maintaining an image rather than cultivating obedience. Hypocrisy is not always deliberate deception. Often it's a gradual drift. We begin doing the right things for the wrong reasons. shaping our actions around how they will be perceived rather than around the faithfulness to God. Jesus consistently resists this drift. He exposes religious performance that lacks inner substance, and he calls his followers to a righteousness that exceeds surface compliance. This righteousness is not quieter or hidden for its own sake, but it's anchored in sincerity rather than spectacle. Here's the heart of day 18. Faith, shaped by appearances, may look impressive, but it does not sustain transformation. God is not interested in spiritual performance that is detached from obedience. True faith is measured not by visibility, but by faithfulness. Appearances ask, how does this look? Faith asks, is it true? Lent exposes our temptation to trade integrity for image and invites us back to wholehearted obedience grounded in truth. Lent retrains our loves, it loosens our attachment to approval, and confronts our reliance on image management. By fasting appearances, we learn to value substance over show, obedience over optics, and truth over performance. This season teaches us that spiritual growth often looks unimpressive to the world. The work God does within us may not be immediately visible, but it's deeply formative. Lent invites patience with unseen transformation and fidelity over display. Here's your practical application for today. Today's fast invites honest self examination. Where have you been managing perception more than cultivating integrity? Where have you been tempted to perform faith rather than to live it? I want you to choose one practice today where you can prioritize truth over image. This might mean admitting weakness, choosing obedience without recognition, or letting go of the need for affirmation. But allow God to shape your inner life without concern for what's happening on the outside. Here are your questions for reflection before you pray. Where am I most tempted to protect appearances? How has concern for perception shaped my spiritual habits? And what would integrity over image look like in my daily discipleship? Remember to read through the scriptures for today. That's John chapter 17, verses 1 through 5. And then remember to take time to think through these questions and to spend some time in prayer talking to God about the necessity of fasting from appearances. God bless you, my brothers and sisters, and we'll see you tomorrow.